Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Real IAI Podcast. I'm your host, Jan LeMay. Thanks for joining us. Really quickly, before I introduce our guest host, I want to talk about some announcements. Registration for the 2024 conference this April 11th through the 17th in Reno is open. Early registration closes on July 31st, so you want to get in before that deadline. And this is shaping up to be one of our biggest and best conferences ever. I'm really excited for it. The full agenda is posted online on the website. And when I say full, I do mean full. There's lots of lectures and workshops to choose from. If you want to attend a workshop, be sure and register for that quickly because those are filling up fast. And as of the recording of this podcast on June 3rd, there's still time to sign up to present a poster and time to participate in the photo contest. And those details are available on the IAI website. So let me get right into our guest host. She's the chair of the Chesapeake Bay Division, and her name is Mallory McCormick. Mallory, thanks for joining us on the podcast. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Now, when I think of Chesapeake Bay, Mallory, I used to always think about crab, like blue crab especially. That's what you're known for, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm
And-
actually not originally from the East Coast. I'm from the Midwest. So getting used to eating a soft shell crab was a little weird to me, but it is definitely a culture thing out here.
Yeah, but those are battered and fried anyway, so it could be anything. You wouldn't even know it, right?
It's true.
Yeah. Now, you, the Chesapeake Bay Division, had the experience of hosting the parent body conference last year in National Harbor, Maryland. That had to be really exciting and maybe a bit overwhelming. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was a great experience. And first, I was very honored that the CBD IAI chose me to, or entrusted such a big responsibility to me as the president of the division during that time. But it was a pleasure and a lot of fun as well. It was a lot of hard work, but the IAI planning committee, which consists of Candace Murray and Mary Mattingly and Heather Connor, and the whole team are so organized and they're so clear with their expectations, responsibilities, and roles that any host division that has a good, strong work ethic and has good leadership skills and organizational skills can definitely easily achieve kind of such a big project.
Yeah, and Kenny Murray, Heather Connor, Bill Shade, Mary Mattingly, they have it down to a science. They really do.
They really do. Yeah, they really do. They tell you exactly what you need, and all you got to do is just make sure you and your team execute. And I was blessed to have such a great division, or to be at the helm of such a great division. So I had a ton of support from our members, committees, board of directors, officers. I knew that anything that we needed to get done, I had the team backing me to get it done and to get it done ahead of time. So that way we weren't putting stress on the IAI. They didn't have to check in with us. They knew we were taking care of it.
Oh, that's great. Now, the hosting division does have to commit some resources and some personnel. What kind of commitment did it take from you guys to host the conference?
Yeah, so we were committed to providing volunteers, a rather large amount of volunteers. So it was really important to make sure that we were organized with kind of our time slots and ensuring that we had an adequate amount of people to help run the registration table, to help take head counts, to be in the exhibit hall, helping with maybe security if we didn't have coverage from the Girl Scout volunteers, to just kind of be runners at times. If someone needed something, we had people there to help. So we found that it was really beneficial to assign individuals short blocks of time because we wanted to make sure that we were also dedicated to ensuring that all of our members were taking part in the conference and learning while they were there. So again, because I have such a large division, I had a lot of volunteers I could pull from. And then we spread that responsibility out. We're also responsible for setting up quite a large amount of the opening ceremonies. It was great to be able to have a full military color guard to open the ceremony. It's been, I think, many years since that had been done. And then a kind of a fun part, I'm a Caps fan. And so the individual that sang the national anthem is actually the same guy that sings the national anthem to open up the Caps hockey games. So
how fun.
Yeah, so a lot of the opening ceremonies were on our responsibility, so that was a lot of fun to organize.
Yeah, and I'm an Avs fan, so both of our hockey teams kind of suffered the same fate this year, unfortunately. It was a tough one. So looking back on that experience now, a year later, after hosting the conference, what do you think has been the benefit to your division of hosting the conference, and would you recommend to any other division to host the conference?
I absolutely would recommend other divisions putting kind of their division forward to host. There's a lot of personal and professional development that the whole team of the host division will learn. Also, there is a financial support given from the IAI since that division won't have their conference that year. The IAI still ensures that division's being kind of compensated for that. And then one thing that I didn't really expect, but I've seen a revitalization of interest from our membership. So we have more people running for our board of directors, our officers, and wanting to get involved in our committees. And then the caliber of the people that are getting involved is really impressive. So they're super committed, super passionate about being involved. So we're seeing more like great ideas that are being implemented. A couple examples, we now have a dedicated standing conference planning committee. So we have a group that are just laser focused on ensuring that all the fine details of our conference is covered and that we have continuity from year to year. And they are doing an amazing job at putting together just really impressive conferences each year. We also are prioritizing better representation of the forensic disciplines, and we're looking at offering more online training and online seminars, as well as increasing our budget to ensure that we're bringing in high demand training with well-known instructors, so that people can be getting kind of certification points, because we really support our membership getting certified in their disciplines.
So a lot of that or all of that spun off of just hosting the conference.
I will tell you a lot of that has come from preparing to host the conference, and then the energy during hosting, and then kind of that, once you get that ball rolling, that energy is kind of still going through to now. So it's great. I think it's one of the things that we needed to see in our division, and I hope that we are able to keep it going.
That's amazing. Now, your members who did volunteer to serve at the conference, did they get any benefit, like free registration, anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. So we were given a certain number of registrations. And so I had several individuals that stepped up and worked really hard and kind of, I said, we're like my core group. And so I was able to compensate registrations for that team of people.
Oh, that's cool. I said when I used to think of Chesapeake Bay, I thought of crab. Now I think of National Harbor, Maryland, where we had the conference. That was such a great experience and great location and great venue for our big conference. And there were so many restaurants and entertainment options just within walking distance. So that was perfect. And thanks so much for hosting the conference and all the sacrifice and hard work. It was a great experience for everyone that was there, I have no doubt.
Yeah, thank you for that compliment. It was great. It was a huge conference. We had record-setting numbers of attendees, and it was nice to be able to have everything in that location. So once an attendee got there, they could just stay right there, and whatever they needed was just an easy walk away. So we were even able to have a membership event for the CBD IAI at one of the restaurants there, and it was a lot of fun, and people didn't have to really worry about going far after.
Yep, no need for Ubers. It was perfect. So what's new? What's coming up with the Chesapeake Bay Division? Any events or classes or conferences coming up?
Yeah, we just had our 2024 conference on the beach in Ocean City, Maryland at the end of last month. So our next conference for 2025 will be in June, and that's going to be at Wisp Resort. And that's going to be a family-friendly event. Our current president, Jessica Schaefer, is doing a great job, I mentioned earlier, of making sure that all the forensic disciplines are well represented, but then also ensuring that after the great educational program is done for the day, people can bring their family, and there's going to be some really cool family events going on in the evenings. We will also have our seminar this fall. That typically is geared a bit more towards lectures and resources and maybe workshops for students. I know that we're going to host that virtually again this year. And I think that the plan going forward, as I said before, is going to be to offer more seminars virtually and more training virtually. And then kind of an interesting initiative is coming from our second VP, Meredith Kuhn. She's wanting to host more professional networking events that the whole family can come to. So we are a large division. We encompass Virginia, West Virginia, DC, Maryland, and Delaware. So she's looking to have these professional networking family picnics all throughout the division so that people don't have to travel too far to get together with other professionals and kind of share ideas and network. And I think I love this. I love seeing kind of more family involvement. I think it's going to benefit a lot of people within the division.
Well, that's cool. And congratulations for all the success in the Chesapeake Bay division. Keep it up.
Yeah.
We do have a guest waiting for us in the green room. And speaking of crab, she comes from a place where king crab is the crab of choice. And her name is Lesley Hammer. Lesley is the chair of the Science and Practices Committee. Lesley, thanks for being our guest on the podcast today.
Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. And Mallory, that was all amazing to hear about what your division is doing.
That's really exciting.
Fantastic work. Yeah.
And we didn't interrupt you eating king crab, did we? You're not. It's about lunchtime there.
Unfortunately.
Mallory, why don't you go ahead and kick off our questions for Lesley?
Great, thanks. Lesley, first off, what are the S&Ps and what are the roles and responsibilities of them?
The S&Ps for the II, the S&P stands for Science and Practice Committees, and they serve as the subject matter experts for our association. So their main role, the bulk of their work, is really helping vet the conference to make sure that the types of education that we're providing, workshops, lectures, posters, that is all has been kind of run through the committee, scrutinized, that there's a variety of types of opportunities for all different levels. So they really help vet and develop the program for the conference. But they also serve if something comes up with the II that concerns, say there's some legislation that involves fingerprints or a need from some kind of federal effort for crime scene, then the II leadership can reach down to those science and practice committees for input that really represents our knowledge base in each discipline. We have 12 committees, 12 separate committees in the II that kind of run the gambit of the types of disciplines that the II represents. And we can also have provisional committees. So if there's an idea someone has for a new committee, it goes through a period of kind of trial and error to see if it's going to serve its purpose.
Yeah, it's really great to have that foundation that people can reach to if they need that resource.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very important part of the II. It's a very important part of what makes us credible.
Mm-hmm.
The II has kind of a way of policing itself. It's known as the Professional Review Board. And rarely is there a PRB established, but if there's a complaint against a member regarding some professional matter or an ethics issue, what is the S&P's role in assisting in that professional review?
Well, the professional review boards are kept pretty confidential, but their possible resource would be if a question arises that involves a discipline question. Certainly members of the S&P can individually, as requested by leadership, serve for that aspect of input on that review board.
Okay. And you said there's 12 different S&Ps, and how many members are on each committee?
Each committee has 7. They can have 7. They have 7 seats, and including a chair. But they can also have provisional members if they have a particular, project they're working on or need some added input.
So you're talking about well over 100 different, like, volunteer opportunities for members if they want to serve on an S&P. So if someone is interested in serving on a Science and Practices Committee, what do they do? Who do they reach out to?
The best first outreach, someone can always outreach to me to get in touch with anyone, but looking on the website and seeing which S&P they're interested in, and then who chairs it, and then get in touch with that chair and start a conversation about their interest, how they might serve. And certainly if they're attending the conference, there's some excellent opportunities to get to meet the chair and the other members of the committee. And that's a great way to start that conversation about getting involved.
And a lot of our members, unfortunately, don't always have the opportunity to attend a conference. So do your S&P committee members have to attend the conference to serve on a committee?
They don't have to. It is of great benefit if those members can also, many of them are also our speakers at the conference. But there's other ways to support the purpose of the committee and the goals of the committee. So they certainly don't have to attend every year, but it's a benefit to at least have some experience attending a conference here and there.
Okay.
Are there term limits on serving on an S&P?
The chairs have term limits. I think that's something we have discussed within our committees and with the leadership of working on more closely, making those kind of more defined and published. We have the same kind of challenge with the science and practice committees in the II that say any standard writing group or any other group involving forensics, where the large committees, say latent prints and crime scene, we have a big pool of people, and it's actually quite competitive to get on those committees. We turn them over quickly to try and involve other people, or not quickly, but every few years. Definitely try to rotate people. But some of the smaller disciplines, it's really difficult sometimes to find 7 people that can donate the time that is required. So it really varies with the different committees in practice.
But very important roles, and we really need the service of those people and their volunteerism for sure.
Absolutely.
And speaking of volunteerism, I want to have a conversation with both of you because I admire both of you for all of the effort, all of the service you've put into the organization over the years. And Mallory, you're, like we mentioned earlier, you're a past president of the Chesapeake Bay Division. You've been serving in that organization for a very long time. And last year, you got elected to the board of directors to the parent body. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
So you're committed to serving in your local division and in the parent body. And why are you doing it? What do you get out of it?
I love that question. Well, I'm lucky that throughout my career, I've had some really great mentors, and getting involved with the CBD is an example of this. Shelley Brazel was kind of my mentor to get involved with the CBD II. She was the first person that really nudged me to start giving workshops. And then she nudged me from there to run for the board of directors. And once she got that ball rolling, it has just taken off for me. And I absolutely have fallen in love with service and with giving back by teaching, networking, and just serving on all these committees and board of directors. And I love the personal and the professional connections I've made. I absolutely never get sick of learning something new from other people that I've met, but I have to admit that I also kind of get this rush when I'm teaching and I see a student that's nodding their head and you can tell that they're really connecting with what I'm saying. So there's a lot of professional and a lot of personal fulfillment that I'm getting out of serving. And as I said, like that ball is rolling pretty fast now, and I have no intention of slowing down. I hope to continue to serve the II and the CBD II for a long time to come. I don't know that I'll make quite legendary status like Lesley has. But I'm really going to try, and I look forward to hearing her answer this question, so I have this clear path to follow.
But it becomes addictive, doesn't it? Once you get started, you really get hooked in
Absolutely.
service. Yeah,
I love it. It's a lot of fun.
So Lesley, kind of the same question. I mean, I don't know anyone who has served within the organization as long as you have, and at the risk of dating you, I mean, you've been involved with the II for 3 decades, serving on every committee imaginable, every office imaginable, but you're still going at it as chair of the S&P. So why have you been committed to 3 decades, not 30 decades of service to the organization?
Yeah, don't emphasize that 30 years, Jan. I just want to say I joined the II when I was 10.
Yeah, I'm almost there with you. I'm right behind you.
No, it was really great to listen to Mallory's answer and the energy involved. That's absolutely. The tire that starts rolling, I had to use tire instead of ball, given footwear and tire track. But that's absolutely, it does just energize you. And I didn't start, when I started off getting involved with the IAI, I'm located in Alaska, and we have, one state lab, one city lab, not like the Chesapeake Bay area where you can have picnics with professional connection. We have a very small pool. And I had a director at the time that was just very committed in getting us involved nationally so that we could be in touch with what was happening. And that was my first, and it's still to this day, one of the main reasons that I stay involved, because the connections, the meeting people, the conferences, the journals, all of those ways are just start and keep up conversations that help you stay on top in your field and in touch with what's going on. I've always been very dedicated to quality in forensics, reliability. The II is where I constantly was exposed to so many ways of thinking that promote that idea and support that part of being a professional. So that is what motivated me. And I guess over the years, I started by getting involved in the Footwear and Tire Tracks Science and Practice Committee. And I've been written articles that have been published. I have been a speaker at conferences and workshops. I started with a poster and then just went on from there. Served in lots on the board of directors, served as president 7 or 8 years ago. I lost track. All of it, every single different job that I took or challenge that I took on really branched from the challenge before. So I didn't start out on a certain path. I just took the next step, volunteering and getting involved, and then that led to the next step. And even after serving as president, I was still very involved in the conference, very interested in the conference. It was educational planner. Now that's Heather Connor, as Mallory mentioned, she's doing a fabulous job. So I've learned something new from every job. I mean, something new is an understatement. I have grown as a professional from every contact I've made at the II, every challenge that I've stepped up to. It's just, I don't know, I can't even picture what my career would be without it. It's just meant so much to the kind of professional I am, which is what the part that's important to me.
Yeah, and no one could argue that your professionalism is uncontested.
Yeah, that's such a great answer and really spoken like a true legend. So
thank you.
And it sounds like
I want to say, can I say one more thing?
Yes,
Jan?
absolutely.
Mallory mentioned this, and at this point, I feel, and the natural progression is I'm moving into just, again, not what I set out to do, but just what's happening is I'm really finding a lot of mentorship opportunities. So being a mentor. And that is probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done. So I'm mostly focusing on those kind of things. It was an absolute honor to mentor Heather into becoming the education planner and just professionally in my discipline. Really enjoying that next step too.
You both kind of said the same thing. You start out small by serving on a committee or two, co-authoring a paper or two, and then it just snowballs or the tire rolls down the hill. Yeah,
I think it's important for people to not be closed-minded to opportunity. I think that people, it's important to believe in yourself and to always remember your value and that you have something to give. So when an opportunity comes up, don't be afraid to jump on it and seize the moment, I guess, to sound a little.
Absolutely. And not to give up. I mean, some getting on some committees is there's a lot of people who are vying for some of those positions, and just start out small, start out with a poster, and eventually maybe you'll teach a workshop, start out on volunteering for a committee and just asking, can I help you at the conference? And then maybe pretty soon you'll be on that S&P committee. So don't give up and just keep doing the right thing for the right reasons, and eventually, it'll happen.
That's great advice from both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jan, if you don't mind, I want to kind of kick it to you. You're currently the second VP of the IAI, so you are no stranger to service at all. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and what benefits you have found by serving?
Yeah, thanks, Mallory. I started out small. I came from a very small crime lab. It was a 3-person crime lab, so I had no mentor. I had no training plan. I was the only person in the lab doing what I was doing, so I really didn't have a clue, to be honest with you. So it was by involvement in the Rocky Mountain Division where I met people, developed those associates like you were talking about, found people who became my mentors, and really helped guide me at the formative years of my career. And this may sound kind of corny, but I believe in the law of sowing and reaping. So, which is 2 prongs. So number one, you always reap what you sow. So if I am sowing positivity and mentorship and personal growth and all those good things that I want to have in my life, that's what I usually get back in return and sometimes I haven't always done that. I've sowed negative things and things start to go downhill, and then work on the positive things and things go up again. The second part of the law of sowing and reaping is that you always reap more than you sow. So if I plant a seed of corn, I don't get a kernel of corn, I get an entire bushel. So all of the time I've spent serving in the organization, the Rocky Mountain Division, and in the para body, I've got so much more back in return, just in the friendships, the mentors, the education that I've received from going to conferences and attending lectures and workshops. Without all of that, I wouldn't even have a career. I'm certain of it. So I've got much, much more back in return than I ever have given of myself. And it feels kind of selfish in that way, but maybe that's what service is supposed to be. I don't know.
That's really great. As you are getting closer and closer to your presidency, and I love this mantra that you were just talking about, kind of what are your visions for some of the seeds you're hoping to sow as you continue through the ranks?
That's a good question too. And that's something I've given a lot of thought to. And in the past, when I started 30 plus years ago, and I'm dating myself again, Lesley, we didn't really talk much about resiliency and wellness. If you had some psychological trauma that you were exposed to and it was affecting you in a way that was negatively impactful, you kind of had to bury that and just like, that's just part of the job and you just have to suck it up and do it. But I think we're getting a lot more open these days about that trauma and how it affects us up here in our hearts, how it affects our relationships. And so that's something that I'm really want to be focused on in my presidency is resiliency and wellness. And given a lot of thought to possibly establishing a peer support program within the IAI, because a lot of us have peer support within our agencies, but it's still someone that you're going to see in the hallway all the time, someone that you're going to be in meetings with, and you may not be as candid and open and feel as safe confiding in that person because you're so close to that person. But I think if we had something like that within the IAI, someone you could reach out to and be a little more anonymous, then there might be potential there to have something that could really benefit our membership. So that's something that I want to explore as president, and I'll probably appoint a special committee to look into that.
That's so great. I'm glad to hear you say that. I think we're definitely starting to see more and more of those lectures and more of that emphasis, but there's still so much work that needs to be done. So that's going to be a really great focus.
No, I think about myself and the trauma that I've been exposed to, and I'm not afraid to admit I've struggled with PTSD. I've had some bad experiences, and I haven't always dealt with that in healthy ways either. So I think it's important for our membership just to be able to not just survive their careers, but thrive in their careers with good mental health and resiliency.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank you both for being on the podcast. That's about all the time that we have, but thank you, Mallory, so much for joining us and being my guest host today. And Lesley, thanks for sharing all the information about the S&Ps. And I look forward to the two of you continuing in great service within the organization. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Jan.
On our next episode, we're going to be talking to Professor Alicia McCarthy of Thomas College in Maine. She's chair of the Student Advocacy Committee. And we're going to talk to Steve Johnson, who's chair of the Johnson-White Committee. And that committee offers scholarships to students from the IAI. So we're going to talk about education with those two. And if you have questions you'd like to ask them about your education or a family member's education, you can write those in at the Real IAI Podcast at theiai.org, and we'll be sure to ask your question of our guests. If you're a vendor and you'd like to sponsor an episode of the podcast, you can write to us at the Real IAI at theiai.org, and we'll talk to you about how we can help you promote your products and services. Our producer extraordinaire is Steve Yoder. My name is Jan LeMay. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, everyone, take care of each other. Thank you.